What's going on, guys? Sean here from OlightStore.com, and it's pretty loud in here because we are at the Olight machine shop here in Dongguan. This is very exciting. I've been wanting to show this to you guys for quite some time. This is where we take raw bars of metal and we create the flashlight bodies out of them. This entire room is full of CNC machines, and I can't wait to show you guys the process of taking just blocks and bars of metal and making flashlights out of them. Now keep in mind, we have already produced a couple live videos from the assembly for Olight, but this is actually before all of that, because of course, taking these raw bars of metal and creating the bodies out of them has to be the first step in creating an Olight flashlight. Now keep in mind, we are making these bodies out of scratch because no one else is making Olight flashlights. These are our proprietary designs. These are our products. So of course, there's no other choice but to literally just make them from scratch. So let's go ahead and start taking you through the process. All right, so let's go ahead. Right here, you'll see that basically we have pallets come in full of these raw bars of material. You can see here, for example, we've got these metal bars. You can see there, they're basically just raw metal bars. And of course, the first step is going to be cutting this into the individual flashlights. Considering the diameter of these, this is probably most likely the i3T AAA battery flashlights, but you get the idea. Of course, we have much larger bars and pieces of material back here, but this is how the process starts, is we order this material to spec from our suppliers and they ship it in to us. So this allows us to go ahead and start the process of creating the bodies of the flashlights. Now, let's go ahead and start walking over to some of the machines. All right, come on. So here we are. Here's some machines. And let me just go ahead and show you this. So for example, we're starting to get a tube. So again, we're taking those raw bars, we're cutting them up, and we're starting to hollow them out because of course that's where the battery is going to go. So this is a little bit further into the process, but I think you guys are starting to get the idea. And each one of these machines is doing one part of the process. So one of the machines will be hollowing it out. One of the machines will be cutting it to spec. There's all different things, and that's why we have so many different machines here. Let's go ahead and walk down here and we'll take a look at some more machines, all right? So we can come along. This is actually really cool. So he's currently working on i1R2 Pro bodies. So check that out. You can see that's where the USB Type-C port is gonna go. Right here is where we're gonna put the keychain loop on the top. And so this is the body of it. So obviously they're gonna make the head portion and it'll go on here, and that'll be where you can unscrew the light to be able to charge it and screw it back together in order to turn it on and off. But there you go, guys. i1R2 Pro right there. Very, very cool. We've got some more things going on. We've got some baton bodies and things like that. Let's go ahead and walk down here. We'll show you another row of machines. So right here, we've got just some tubes. So you can see there, and this looks like this is actually going to be the head of the i1R2 Pro. Because you can see here, this is definitely the front of the light. That's where the lens is gonna go. That's where the LED is gonna go. So I just showed you the body of the i1R2 Pro, and now we are to the heads of the i1R2 Pro. So really, really cool. And I want to mention that this entire section of this machine shop is built for tubular designed products. So I'm gonna show you later a different section where we make things like the arc felt, which obviously is not a tube, right? But all of these machines right here are in place to create tubes, right? So standard flashlights, the Baton series, the Warrior series, the keychain lights, all of these things are being produced in this section. But keep in mind, again, it has to be round products in this part of the machine shop. If we go back here, you can see that this is where we have finished products. This is where we have products that need to go to the next step. But basically what they do is they create each piece, they put it into these little trays that I've been grabbing the products out of. They wrap up these trays and then they're ready to go to the next process. Have that be machined even further, or they actually might be sent out to be anodized to get all the cool colors that you guys know about. Because obviously we don't sell just raw parts. So because of that, when they're finished making the parts, they've gone through QC, they've gone through the whole process, the next step is to ship them out to the place where they get all of the anodizing and all of the really cool colors on them. But this is basically just kind of a holding area for parts for them to move on to the next part of the process. And that's pretty much what's going on back here. There's little desks everywhere working on QC. There's actually a room right behind us where they're working on QC, and I actually want to show that to you next. All right. So let's go ahead and let's walk through here. I want to show this to you guys. I want to show this to you. So this is one of the offices, all right? In here, they're doing QC on the parts. So before these parts even leave the machine shop, they go through an entire QC process to make sure that they're up to spec. Obviously, we need to make sure that these are good to go. Keep in mind, when the assembly area receives the parts, they are also going through an entire QC process before they even receive the parts into our part inventory that I showed you guys in our first live video of the 5th floor of the Olight assembly factory. So before the parts even get to actual assembly, they're going through several different QC steps in order for them to get to the assembly lines to actually become the flashlights. But just to let you guys know, I mean, they're going through all the parts. You can see, I mean, they're checking everything, they're looking at it, they're looking at the specifications on their notes. We got guys on computers that are scanning everything in. I mean, everything is accounted for, everything's checked. You can see here that they're checking measurements and things like that of the parts. So there's a lot of really cool stuff going on in here. Let me go ahead and show you this. So this is basically a finished part, okay? So this is a body of, it looks to be a Balder Mini is what this looks like. It could be a Balder S, but it's one of the Balder series with the adjustable rail, the WMLs. This one is in tan. You can see here that this has already been machined. It's already been sent out to anodizing. It's been sent back to be polished on the inside for the PCB board and the electrical components. Also, of course, they have to polish this section for the magnetic charging. But you can see that this is a finished part. It's going through QC, and as long as it passes QC, it will be delivered to assembly for them to put all of the components in and actually have it become a real light. But there you go. We got a nice finished part, machined, anodized, polished, QC'd, it goes to assembly. All right, let's get out of here. These are busy people working very hard. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's continue through the machine shop. And now I'm gonna show you the next section of the machine shop. So let's go ahead and walk through. And keep in mind, I'm wearing my favorite pair of jorts for this monumental occasion. So obviously this is a really big deal for me to show all this to you. So we're walking back through this section here. We are walking past all of the raw bars of material that I showed you in the beginning of the video. You can see here that we have more storage of the raw parts. Over there is where the parts actually come in. We got more raw parts over here. We got bars of material. all kinds of materials all over this place right now. And so you can see this is a pretty large facility, but they like to keep the machines in place close to each other so everyone can work together. The process makes sense as they go through each part. They're keeping it as efficient as possible. If these machines were all over the place, it wouldn't be very efficient. So they try to keep all the machines, they try to keep everything compact and close together so that each part of the process makes sense and it can move through the process efficiently and quickly, right? So here we go. These are our most advanced machines. These are the machines that are doing much more intricate parts. Again, like I mentioned, the machines that I showed you earlier on that side of the room only do the round flashlights. But here is where they actually are producing things like the weapon lights that I just showed you with the Balder series. They're able to make things that are rectangular and squares. They're able to make more intricate things. So part of the process that I'm about to show you is they're going to be making arc felts. They're going to be making PL Mini 2s. They're going to be making Balders. There's all kind of parts that are very complicated that they're able to make with these very high level machines. So obviously we have the best machines for the hardest to make products. We have the, smaller machines, easier to use machines for the more simple style products. Makes sense, basic logic, right? So let's go ahead, let's take a look. Let's see what we're doing over here. So just like what I said, we're able to make parts that are different than just a tubular flashlight. So this is actually a Picatinny rail mount for an Odin series. Obviously, there's a lot more work to do on this, but you can see this is where it locks onto the Odin. Okay, so you basically take this piece, you lock it onto the Odin. This is where that knob is gonna be, where you lock it in place. If you have an Odin series, or you've seen an Odin series before, you know what I'm talking about with this piece. But this is the Picatinny rail attachment. Really cool to see that. Also, I'll show you even further back into the process so you can see this one that you can't even actually really tell what's going on just yet. So this is how it starts at this machine, and this is how it ends. So this is what this specific machine is doing all day, is it's taking this and creating this. And that's the process for this one. But obviously, we have to do a lot more than that. So we have more and more machines that are creating parts. Look how cool this is. Like I mentioned, we're making arc felts, right? So you can see, obviously, there's a lot more to do, but you can see this is the charging port. Here's the head. Here's the inside where the battery, PCB board, all of that good stuff is gonna be. Over here is still just flat. So obviously the next step of the process with this is going to be making the actual top and the face of the arc felt. But I mean, you can definitely tell what's going on here. They're pretty far into the process on this one actually. And you can see, I mean, there's just trays and trays of these. And so this is what they've accomplished today so far, right? We can keep walking in. Here is the head of a Javelot Turbo, right? So you can see they're really far into the process on this one, but there's obviously a lot more work to go. You can see this is very thick material. They're gonna have to remove some material on the inside, but you can see they've started to make the heat sinks. They've started to create the intricate design on the head. Obviously, that's where the side switch is gonna go. And so again, this piece is pretty far into the process. Keep in mind, there's oil all over these parts, a requirement so they don't get too hot, and they have coolant and all of that good stuff when they're actually being machined. But yeah, you can definitely tell we've got Javelot heads going on. Okay, here we have bezels. So this is a very intricate piece. Again, we have to have these machines to be able to do such precise work compared to the machines that I showed you before. But look at that. So this is looking like the Warrior Mini 3 bezel. Yeah, that has to be Warrior Mini 3 bezel for sure. So there we go. So we have trays and trays of these bezels. As you can see, we can go a little further. This is actually even further into the mount process. So you can see, I mean, we're almost getting to the end of creating this Picatinny mount. So this is a little bit further in the process than the machine that I showed you up front at the beginning. So again, I mean, it's just interesting to see that each machine has its function, each machine has its part of the process, and that's its job for that day, you know? And that's pretty much all to show you in this lane. Now keep in mind there's many, many more lanes, and we're gonna keep walking down through them. So let's go ahead and go this way. And we are gonna go check out another lane of CNCs. So here we go. We got more. Okay, this is interesting. So we have, wow, okay, so they are starting to make the bodies of the PL Mini 2, okay? So basically, they take the raw bars of steel or aluminum or titanium or brass. I mean, we make, you know, products out of many, many different types of materials. This looks like aluminum for sure. But anyways, we basically, again, take the raw bars of the material, we cut it up, right? We cut it up to spec. And then of course we start having to mill it out. So here we go. This is where the battery is gonna go. This is where the PCB board is gonna go inside of the PL Mini 2, okay? So really, really cool stuff. You can see we took this and we did this. And again, that's what this machine is doing today specifically. But again, all these machines have a different function. Here we have even more raw parts. So again, the bars that I showed you at the very beginning of this video, this is actually what that was. And they basically just cut it up to spec, and then they can create the products out of it. And to be honest with you, this looks about the size of an i1-R2 Pro. So this probably is going to become an i1-R2 Pro, could be the body or the head of that product, but there you go. Let's continue to walk through. So again, we've got more PL Mini 2 bodies that are being milled out to be able to put all of the internals inside of it, of course, to make it a real flashlight. This is actually a lot further into the process. Wow, this is a lot further into the process. So you can see here, they cut out this entire section here for the front of the PL Mini 2. Obviously the LED and the lens is gonna go in there. They even created the section here at the bottom for the magnetic charging cable. The back here is where the switches are gonna go, obviously. And then inside is where the battery, the PCB board, all of that good stuff is gonna go. So this is very far into the process of creating a PL Mini 2. But this machine is right next to the machine that is starting the process from this raw block. So we're going from here to here, right? Really cool to see. And again, just like what I said in the beginning of this video, these are our designs, our products. Nobody else makes these products. So because of that, we literally have to make them out of scratch because there's no other starting point than just raw bars of metal. Let's go ahead and keep going. This looks to be the beginning of a head. So you can see here that they basically kind of created this knob. It's a way for them to remove material as they continue through the process of creating the head of the light. And you can see here, they've already started making the threading. So the body will screw into the neck right here. So yeah, this is basically, again, just part of the process. We also, again, have some more arc felts going on over here. There you go. We can move on a little bit more. Oh, so we actually I was showing you the beginning of the head of the Pt.1. So check this out. So this is going to become this. And I'm sure you can recognize this because here's the heat sinks. This is where the switch is going to go. This is where the LED and the lens is going to go, the bezel. And then of course the body is going to screw into this. So we've got this, which is becoming the head of the Pt.1. Very, very cool to see. We also have more things going on. Here we go. We actually have the body of the Pt.1, which is screwed onto, yes, so you can see here what I just showed you. So here's the beginning of the head of the Pt.1, and then here is a body that we also created. Obviously, we had to fully mill this out in order to have the battery be able to go in there. Of course, here is where you're going to attach the magnetic charging cable. And I think they just had this screwed together just to test it out to make sure the threads are smooth. But there you go. Here we go. Here's another really cool piece. So here's the M-lock mount for the Odins. So you can see this is where the M-lock attachment is going to go. And then right here is the channel that you're going to push onto the rail of the Odin light to attach the light to the mount. So I showed you guys the Picatinny mounts. Now we're here at the M-lock mounts. Also, we've got more Javelot heads. Obviously, you know, they're working extensively on the Javelot at the time that we're here at the shop. But there you go. So we got Javelot heads, of course, again. And then a couple more things behind us, but let's go ahead and move on, all right? So let's get out of this channel and let's just move on to another one, all right? So again, we're gonna walk down here. We're gonna keep going, all right? We've got parts everywhere. We've got these little trays full of parts literally everywhere. We've got a lot of mounts. We've got a lot of weapon light bodies. I'm seeing a lot of that. We've got more bodies here. We've got more bodies here. Again, let's see. We've got more bodies for the little weapon lights. We've got PL Mini 2s again. We've got all kinds of things going on. There is something specifically that I want to show you that's really interesting. So I mentioned this earlier when I was showing you QC. So the whole entire process is we get the raw bars of material. We cut the material to spec. Then we start actually creating the product out of that material. Those parts that are finished go through QC. They leave QC and they are shipped out to the anodizing factory. This is a black type 3 hard anodizing, okay? The reason why the parts that have color are brought back here is because they need to be polished again for the electrical components. You cannot have the anodizing on the inside where the PCB board is, the LED and all of that. So because of that, they actually have to finish the part, take it through QC, send it to anodizing, then send it back here to be polished. Then it goes through QC again that I showed you earlier, and then it goes to the assembly inventory, okay? But that's basically the entire process. So you're gonna see parts around here that are actually already colored because they have to be repolished in order to you know, not have any issues with the electrical components when they actually go to assembly. And we got a few more parts back here. You know, we've got some heads. This looks to be a Pt.1 3 Pro. You can see where that new upgraded clip that we make is going to go into that channel. You can see this is where the side switch is going to be. The head is here. You know, obviously this is where the LED, the lens, the bezel, all of that is going to go. And then you're going to screw the body onto this. But just looking at it, this is probably the Pt.1 3 Pro. It looks a little big to be the Pt.1 3, so it's looking like that. But I think you guys get the idea. So we can go ahead and move out of here. We can go ahead and move through this channel. Keep in mind the floors are a little bit slippery just because of all the oil from the machines and things like that. But we're gonna go ahead and keep it moving, all right? Now, I wanna show you this section because this is pretty cool. So we've got an entire tray of arc felts that have already gone through anodizing. So this is all OD green arc felts. And what's going on here is obviously these have been polished because, again, this is where the electrical components are going to go. And then on the front right here, this has also been polished because all of the sections where there's going to be electrical components need to be polished. So this is actually really far into the process, and this is probably getting prepared for assembly. Obviously, it needs to go through full QC in order to go to assembly, but you're getting the idea. This is very far into the process. This is almost done. We also have a lot of other parts as well that have gone through anodizing. So this is kind of the finished area, right? We've got some bodies here. Let's take a look. So it looks like we got a weapon light body here. Again, it's already been anodized. They've already polished the sections that need to be polished. And so again, those are almost finished. And we've got all these parts here. We got a bunch of stuff going on. These are all things that are, going through the process. They're probably going to be sent out to anodizing soon. Check this out. This is for the bolt for the O-Pin Mini. You see there, so when you actuate the pin, this is the channel that the bolt is going to go through. So there you go. We got parts for the O-Pin Mini. And I mean, this is just paradise for an Olight fan. I mean, there's just parts everywhere. We've got tail caps right here. This is looking like the tail cap for maybe the Warrior 3S. Probably, this is definitely a tail switch light. It's probably the Warrior 3S, but you can see it's pretty far into the process. It's got all the cool milling. It's got the threading finished. So there you go. This probably is going to be sent out to anodizing pretty soon, okay? And it just keeps going and going. There's more and more trays of products over there. And then also behind you is more and more CNCs, okay? So this place is just absolutely full of parts, of raw material, of different parts of the process, obviously, that I just showed you. And, it's obviously a really exciting place. Obviously, over here, we got a few desks. These guys, again, are checking things in. They're making sure all of the parts that I just showed you are good to go for the next part of the process. And so I believe we'll just kind of end the video here. I think you guys have got the idea of the facility. And I just want to show you just how extensive this place is. I mean, there's CNC machines literally all over the place. It's a very exciting place if you guys are into machining, if you're into checking out how things are built, how things work. But I'm just very impressed to see that there's no hand holding going on here. I mean, they're literally building this stuff from scratch. It's amazing to see this process. And hopefully this gives you guys confidence in the processes that we go through and how difficult it is for us to make these high quality products for you guys. I really appreciate y'all being here with me. I really appreciate them for letting us walk around this facility with cameras when they're so busy working on all of these amazing products for us. But this is the beginning of the Olight flashlight, and I'm so happy that we could show this to you today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.